Okay, so now we're going to talk about the preschooler, and I love this age group because they are so imaginative and they have such a growing vocabulary. They are so fun. So let's get started. Their physical growth. This is just some information about how much you can expect them to grow a year and how much weight you can expect them to gain a year. They usually grow in spurts, so they'll get a little bit rounder and a little bit taller, and then a little bit rounder and a little bit taller. They lose all that baby fat. They start to walk around. Their belly, they don't have that toddler belly anymore. So lots of changes in their physical growth. In their organ systems, it slows down a little bit from the toddler stage. Their heart rate decreases, their blood pressure goes up, gets more going towards that adult range. They should have their 20 baby teeth. Okay, they are still susceptible to urinary tract infections because they still have that short urethra. So that makes them more prone to urinary tract infections. Their bowel and bladder control should be pretty good at this point. However, if they have accidents at night, that again could predispose them to UTIs. Here's some motor skill development, and this is just a very small chart compared to the one in the text about gross motor and fine motor. Their fine motor, they start to be able to grab things with each finger now, hold a pen correctly, etc. We'll get a better chart in the textbook. All right, question. The nurse is assessing a 3-year-old for gross motor skill development. Which of the following would the nurse expect for the preschooler to have accomplished? Bending over without falling, standing on one foot for 10 seconds, skipping, or swimming? The answer is A. At age 4, or a 3-year-old, okay, back up, I didn't mention this at the beginning. The preschool age is from 3 up to age 6. So at age 3, they should be able to bend over without falling. At 4, they could hop on one foot, and at 5, they can stand on one foot for 10 seconds. Later on, they may learn how to skip and skate. Oh, skate and swim. I never learned to skate, so I missed that part of my preschool education. Erickson and Piaget for this age group. Again, Kohlberg and Freud we're not going to address. Erickson is initiative versus guilt. That's 3 to 6 years. Now, Piaget kind of overlaps the toddler and the preschool and really even into the school age group. The pre-operational substages are listed again in the text, and I'll show you where those are. Okay, so what are you going to see in a preschooler? They are magical thinkers. They have the biggest imagination. They pretend their animals are talking. They have imaginary friends. They play dress up. They make up stories. Lying is a big thing with a preschooler because they're so imaginative, they want to make up things, and B, they're people pleasers, so they want to please their parents. So lying is a big thing that you have to address in a preschooler. Some social skills. They learn how to cooperatively play. They learn most of them learn how to share. They learned that they can be mean or they can be kind. They make friends. They keep friends. They can get mad at their friends. They help others. They see the gratification in that. So it's a great age. Friendships, we talked about that. Learn how to make and keep a friend. They are all about pleasing their parents. Okay, so they are very influenced about what the parents think about their behavior. They get scared. They have fears of the dark. Nightmares versus night terrors, they are different. Nightmares, kids remember, and night terrors, they usually don't remember. But I'm pretty sure that there's a good comparison chart in the text that talks about nightmares versus night terrors. They are very different. All right, communication skills. Like I said, they are really learning to talk and chatter, and their vocabulary is about 2,100 words by the age of 5. So, and they can answer your questions. You can ask them questions. You can almost have a conversation with them at about 3 years old. So, it's really cool. All right, some nursing diagnosis that you might see related to their growth and development if they are having delayed growth and development, and there are some red flags that you want to look for in this age group that might indicate that they may be having some developmental issues. This is the best time to catch them before they start school. So we'll go over what the red flags are. Imbalanced nutrition, they need a lot of calcium, they need a lot of iron, and there are some nutritional requirements listed. They're not great eaters at this point. They'll eat like a lot one day and then nothing the next day. So you have to be really cognizant of what they are eating and making sure that they're eating for nutrition. Risk for injury. Injury is a leading cause of death, hospitalization in this age group. Disturbed sleep patterns. They should get about 11 to 12 hours of sleep at this age, but again, if they are prone to nightmares or night terrors, then that might interrupt their sleep process. What can we do to promote growth and development? Well, building self-esteem, letting them do things by themselves, promoting independence, routine and rituals, bedtime routine, mealtime routine, really important at this point. Kind of sets the stage for what they're going to be like when they go through the school age and the adolescent age groups. Setting limits, discipline is very important. Again, you've got that big O imagination, so you've got to kind of set your limits. You know, a lot has to do with safety too. They're real impulsive, so they'll run out in front of a car. Most of the autopeds that we see are this age group, you know, the preschool age group, because they don't think, they just run out and get their ball or whatever in the road. So limits, remaining consistent, all important. Here are a few of the signs of developmental delay. If your patient isn't exhibiting or is exhibiting these kind of behaviors, then they need further investigation. If they don't make eye contact, if they, can't attempt to get themselves dressed by the time they're 4 or 5 years old, aggressive behavior, extreme fear, those are all big signs of developmental delay. All right, the nurse is assessing a 5-year-old for signs of developmental delay. Which of the following would alert the nurse to a potential problem? Can build a tower of 6 blocks, does not play with other children, engages in fantasy play, or separates from parent easily. Okay, so I'm going to answer this, but I want to keep these answer choices on the screen. They don't play well with other children would be a potential problem. They all engage in fantasy play. They will separate from their parents easily. That whole separation anxiety thing is pretty much gone at this point, for the most part. They can build a tower of at least 6 blocks. So if they don't play with other kids, that cooperative play, then that could be a problem. All right, what can we do as nurses to promote growth and development in the preschool age? Promote early learning. Reading to these kids is really important. When you talk about choosing a preschool, they need a reading curriculum. Early readers do well. They usually do very well in school. Promoting language development, not using baby talk. Social skills, because you're getting them ready for school. Of course, safety, of course, nutrition, all of those are important. All right, we'll skip that for right now. Here are your daily nutritional requirements for your preschooler. And this is a nice little concise slide, so this might be the information that you learned. They need 500 to 800 milligrams of calcium, 10 milligrams of iron, 19 of fiber. These are kind of random numbers, but I'm sure it's scientifically proven somewhere. Fat intake, no less than 20%, but no more than 30% of their calories. Now, fat, remember we talked about the toddler needing full fat milk for brain growth. At this point, you can cut back to 2% if they are concerned about weight gain, which can be a problem at this age Fruit juices, again, we all know the new American Academy of Pediatrics recommendations. Fruit juice is the devil. All right, some ways to build healthy eating habits. Like I said, they're very erratic eaters. They'll eat well one day and horrible the next. So you need to get the best bang for your buck. Snacks should be very high quality, protein, veggies, fruits, etc. Routine is important at this age, so family meal times are great. It sets a good example for the child that this is when we eat. We don't just snack and graze here and there. So routine is important. Overweight and obesity is an issue. I've seen 100-pound 5-year-olds. So you want to, A, make sure that you notice that trend before it becomes a problem, and B, do some really good parent teaching if you see that trend happening. We start doing BMIs at what age? Age 2. So make sure that that is tracked. Again, importance of a home, a family, or a health home, healthcare home. That's what I'm trying to say. To keep these trends, to look at these trends. Some consequences of childhood obesity. We're seeing more and more hypertension in teenagers, hyperlipidemia. Now that could be familial as well. There are skinny little kids that have high cholesterol. And then insulin resistance is becoming a huge issue as well. Type 2 diabetics are being diagnosed earlier and earlier. Lying, like I said, can be a developmental issue for a preschooler because of their big imagination. Sex education, they're discovering that there is a difference between boys and girls. So really important to educate. Sex education sounds really out of place here, but early sex education is what they're gearing towards. And then masturbation can be an issue in preschoolers because they are discovering themselves. All right, we're going to skip through the question. And focus of a healthcare visit throughout childhood. Okay, so still important to keep those well-child visits. Just to monitor growth and development, give parents anticipatory guidance, get them ready for school. Okay, that's the big focus of the healthcare visits in the preschool age. All right, so let's go over to the chapter. And let's see what we got here. All right. Physical growth. Again, here's what you can expect them to grow to, 0.5 to 3 inches a year. They can usually gain about 4 or 5 pounds a year. It's got them average weights on here. Again, average. Permanent teeth start to erupt around 6 when they start school. So they should have their 20 baby teeth at the end of this age group. This talks about some organ system maturation, and again, it slows down. The eustachian tubes are still pretty short and straight. Heart rate goes up, like we said. Heart rate goes down, like we said. Blood pressure goes up, more towards that adult, moving towards that adult range. All right, they go from usually having, multiple bowel movements a day to maybe 1 or 2 during the day. Kind of normalizes, their bowel grows, so can hold more stool. All right, Erickson's and Piaget, talked about that. Allowing them to assist with simple household tasks builds their initiative. Magical thinking is a big thing. Imaginary friends, I'm telling you, they are awesome at this age. So much fun. All right, here are some activities geared towards Erickson's and Piaget. This is what you see in the initiative versus guilt stage. And then this breaks it down. Like I said, it overlaps the toddler stage and it overlaps the school age stage. So if you know your 2 sub-stages and what each one of them look like, you'll be fine. All right, motor skills. So you all know that motor skills are big. Here's a nice chart. They should be able to undress themselves by 3 and dress themselves by 4 or 5. Yeah, sometimes undressing comes a little bit earlier than 3 too, but typically at 3. Can do a tricycle at 3. They can skip, and their fine motor skills and their gross motor skills are both pretty enhanced by the age of 5. Okay, here's some examples of, oh, a 5-year-old with scissors. That's scary. All right, in the sensory development area, their vision, it continues to get better. 2040, 2030, by the time they enter school, by the time they're about 6, it should be 2020. It's probably the best it will ever be at age 6 when they enter school. Communication and language. Here's some information on this. By about 5 years old, they have about 2,100 words. Big sentences, well, not really big sentences, but it should be completely understandable at this age. If you notice any speech deficits, then those need to be investigated. Emotional and social development, we talked about friends. They know how to make friends. They know how to play in groups of friends. And then they sometimes get into arguments as friends. And then they can make up as friends. So there you go. All right, temperament, fears. It's really kind of, this is the building blocks for their temperament and their fears as they get older. They care so much about what the parents think about them. They want to please their parents. They don't really have a lot of self-control early in this stage, but later on they see what self-control can get them. They learn self-control. They learn that being good gets them things. So that's part of this stage as well. The nurse's role in preschool growth and development, one of the big foci is school readiness. Prepping the parents, what to look for, evaluating the child, making sure they're on track by doing their developmental assessments on their well child visits to make sure they're ready for school. There's some nursing diagnosis. We talked about those already. All right, signs of developmental delay. This is a little bit expanded version of the PowerPoint slide. If you notice any of these things in your patient, then they need to be investigated. ECI still interacts with this age group. I think they're up to age 5. I'm pretty sure. Maybe it's up to age 3. I'll have to check on that. But pre-kindergarten Head Start, I think they have Head Start programs for children that qualify. So if you're a nurse and you're assessing a preschooler and you notice that there's some delay, there are resources out there for parents. This talks about they love to play make-believe. They love to imitate people. They love to dress up. Here's some appropriate toys. Okay. Promoting early learning, language development. A big part of that is reading to the child, so make sure that parents understand that reading to the child, very important. Communicating with them in open-ended questions is another, allowing them to express themselves because they have great stories. All right, some things to look for in a preschool. Make sure that you know what kind of schedule they have. That needs to be routine. It needs to be a routine. It needs to be the discipline that they use in the school is important. Anybody that spanks at preschool age, of course, I think parents would steer clear of that, but make sure that that's relayed to the parents. Half-day kindergarten, full-day kindergarten. Those are all different choices that the parents will have, so make sure that they are very informed on all of that information. Some of the schools, like if you have a child with chronic problems, there are special things that the parent has to do with the school. So as a nurse advocate, you may assist them in filling out their 504 plans, or and that just most of the time applies to the chronic child. So we'll talk a little bit more about that when we talk I think it's week 6, about chronic illnesses. Safety, 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 because accidental injury is the biggest cause of death, okay? So accidental injury can happen in a car. Car seat safety is very important. And again, car seat rules kind of change back and forth. Know what it is in your state. For the most part, the preschool kiddo can face forward pretty much all the time, because look at those long legs. They're not going to fit backward. So forward facing, back seat. Of course, kids never ride in the bed of the truck. Airbags should be turned off if they have to ride in the front seat, if it's only a front seat vehicle, etc. Safety in the home. Okay, so since these kids are so creative and imaginative, if they find a gun, they don't know that it's a real gun. You know, they may start pretend play what they've seen on TV. So gun safety, lock it up. Water safety is a huge thing, or a huge problem at this age, because they know no fear. They will just run and jump off the edge of the pool, or wander into the pond. So make sure that parents or someone is watching them all the time, life jackets, etc. Prevent exposure to smoke. It still is irritating to the upper respiratory tract, so it can also lead to ear infections, because remember, that ear canal is still very flat, doesn't drain perfectly at this point. This talks about them being at risk for being struck by a car, because they'll just run out and get their ball or whatever. So make sure that you do a lot of teaching with the parents to do a lot of teaching with the kids, that, you know, they stop at the curb, etc. If they're riding a tricycle or a bicycle, they need helmet and protective gear. They are a little bit better at tasting bad things, or not tasting bad things now. So poisoning is still an issue, but they, you know, although their taste isn't perfect at this point, they can taste a little bit better than a toddler. So, but poisoning, and you know what drives me crazy is when parents try to give them medicine and say, oh, it's candy or whatever. No, don't do that, okay? All right, swimming. This says that 5 years is the appropriate time to swim. I've seen younger kids actually learn to swim, but we'll go by this standard. 5 years is an appropriate time for a child to learn to swim. When they learn to swim, I would recommend, as you should recommend, somebody licensed to teach swim lessons, and somebody there that knows CPR when they're teaching swim lessons. Nutrition. Here are some nutritional needs. A very nice little chart. Calcium, things that you can do to increase calcium, things that you can do to introduce iron to your kiddos. Promoting healthy eating habits. Again, routine. We know that they're going to be picky. We know that they're going to eat a lot one day and not the next. So get the best bang for your buck. All right. Preventing overweight and obesity. Again, it becomes a problem at this point. It can become a problem at this point. So physical activity is very important. Get them outside to play. Here's a nice little study about preventing obesity with physical activity. Sleep and rest. They need, like I said, 11 to 12 hours of sleep. Routine, routine, routine. Routine is important. No TV in bed. Nightmares and night terrors. Here's that chart I was thinking about. This compares and contrasts nightmare and night terrors. A nightmare, they usually wake up. Night terrors, they may kind of wake up, but never really wake all the way up. If a child has a nightmare, sometimes they'll wander into mom and dad's room and wake them up. But a night terror, kids are screaming and mom and dad usually run into their room because they've been woken up by the screaming and shrieking. Timing is a little bit different. Return to sleep is a little bit different, and memory of occurrence is different. Sometimes kids remember nightmares, night terrors. They do not remember. Healthy teeth and gums. Of course, we need to brush and floss at this age because we have 20 teeth. Dentist every 6 months for examination and cleaning. All right. Okay, I didn't see, I thought that I read about TV time. They recommend no more than 2 hours of screen time. Oh, there it is. 2 hours per day. There it is. And that's, they list it as TV in here, but screen time. So iPad, computer, whatever, 2 hours a day. 2 hours a day is what they recommend. And they, when I say they, American Academy of Pediatrics. All right, sorry about that. Skipped over that. That's important. Bedtime routine we talked about. All right, and then some developmental concerns. Like I said, lying needs to be addressed. There's some good information to give to parents about discipline. They need to be firm and they need to stand their ground, okay? Because I said this is a base for how they're going to act when they're a school ager or an adolescent. So this is laying the groundwork for your child later on. Sex education and masturbation we talked about. And here is our care plan. Great injury prevention tips here for you to share with your parents. Here's some information on nutrition. Here's some limit juice. Now, again, this is old information. It has not been updated yet, but you know they don't recommend fruit juice at all anymore. Milk, 16 to 24 ounces a day, no more than 24 ounces. Milk can create an anemic situation. It sometimes blocks the uptake of iron, and it also can cause little microcytic bleeds in the stomach, and you can actually lose a little bit of blood. I mean, you won't be able to see it. It won't be bright red blood, but it can cause an anemic situation. So no more than 16 to 24 ounces, okay, of milk a day. All right, and I'll let you read through the care plan there, and there's our key concepts. And that's all I got.